In this video, we'll watch as Sebastian Gorka, Donald Trump's deputy assistant, completely loses his cool with Victoria Derbyshire on Newsnight here in the UK. As usual, I'll share my thoughts midway through and then we'll dive into a detailed analysis at the end. Let's get started.
We stand with any nation that wishes to implement its sovereignty and which shares our values. And we know that those amongst our civilization that share our values understand, and we stand next to them shoulder to shoulder.
But not the women killed in the maternity hospital in southern Ukraine.
Is that a serious statement? I mean, do you really have
May
no
I finish
shame?
my sentence now,
No
please?
shame.
Let's go live to the White House to talk to Seb Gorka, who is the Senior Director for Counter-Terrorism for Trump's administration. Thank you very much for talking to the UK, Sebastian Gorka. I don't know if you just heard what a senior figure in the UK defence community has said about the Trump administration and its plan. The bastards are doing it.
Well, I hope that's fake news or not from somebody who actually cares about the special relationship between our two countries. So we had Crimea taken under the Obama administration. Not sure the government or Whitehall called the Obama administration bastards back then. Then for 4 years, we had peace under my boss in the first Trump administration. And then in comes the Biden administration and another invasion of Ukraine. Not sure the MOD was complaining about the last administration. So either, and I dearly hope it's fake news, or that person doesn't have any influence inside the MOD in the UK.
Have you just handed victory to President Putin on a plate?
After 100,000 casualties and the fact that Ukraine will remain an independent nation, that's as asinine a statement, as absolutely absurd and really irresponsible as we heard from The Economist just hours before the phone call saying that Kiev is being iced out of the discussions about the future of that region, as President Trump was literally about to call the president of the Ukraine. So sadly, fake news is not just a phenomena on our side of the Atlantic, but clearly amongst your colleagues in the press in the UK.
President Putin invaded a country, he took a load of land, he killed tens of thousands of Ukrainians, and now it appears the US is saying to him, yeah, you can keep the land that you've taken and stolen from your neighbour.
I like the fact that you think you know what the US is promising to anyone. We've been very clear on the campaign trail. President Trump and his team has been adamant since we came into this building 3 weeks ago that the #1 priority is to stop the bloodshed. And you don't have to tell me, the son of those who literally escaped a communist regime, what the reality of the Russian Federation is today. So please stick to the facts. President Trump.
Absolutely, I absolutely accept that on the campaign trail.
Let me finish my sentence.
On the campaign trail, President Trump said he wanted to stop the war. He wanted to pull the US out today.
Will you let me finish my sentence?
Go ahead.
Will you let me? Whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Gaza, whether it is the European continent, remember, this isn't in our hemisphere, this is in your hemisphere, this is in the Eurasian continent, or whether it is Ukraine, whether the Middle East or anywhere, the #1 priority of the Commander-in-Chief is to stop the bloodshed, not to pander to establishment, left-wing, Ramona talking points. That's not why we're here.
If I may ask a question now, Mr. Gorka, and what he did not say on that campaign trail, but which your Defence Secretary did say today, is that Ukraine, it was unrealistic for Ukraine to want to go back to its pre-2014 borders. That is saying to President Putin, you can keep the land you took by force.
Well, geopolitics and politics is the art of the possible. So my question to you would be, what are you proposing? Is the British Army going to deploy to the Donbass or to Crimea? President Trump wants the bloodshed to end, not to live in some cloud cuckoo land of that which is impossible. So the fact is, the fighting will cease because of President Trump, not thanks to the failure of Biden or Obama. And that is the beginning point for Europeans to try and sort out the situation on their continent. President Trump has been explicit. America first is not America alone. So the question is, what are our allies inside NATO going to do to secure the future of that landmass?
But in terms
does Uncle Sam have to fix everything for you?
So really quickly, I want to touch on a few points. Right off the bat, let's talk about this negative vibe Sebastian G is giving off. Also, isn't it strange that all the men surrounding Donald Trump seem like huge misogynists? That's a topic for another time, but for now, Sebastian keeps repeating that Trump's plan to end. The bloodshed involves giving Ukraine the areas Russia has already seized and then striking a deal where Putin promises not to invade further. Honestly, that doesn't make much sense to me. It feels like all of Trump's spokespeople are just echoing the same rhetoric without saying anything substantial. They claim Trump's aim is to halt the violence, yet they seemingly want to reward the very person responsible for it. This approach just doesn't add up in my mind. Anyway, let's keep going, and I'll share my thoughts in full toward the end.
In terms of the negotiations, it's clear there will be no US troops. It appears that the US is pulling back support. Where is the US's leverage when it comes to these negotiations?
The most powerful nation in the world, with a president who has won a popular mandate of 77 million votes, with 12 nuclear aircraft carriers. There is no nation in the world that has greater leverage than the United States and the current incumbent president. So where's the leverage? Everywhere.
And if you share a border with Russia and maybe you're not a member of NATO, how worried should you be if you live in Georgia, for example?
Well, having very close ties to the region, with my parents having escaped Hungary, I am incredibly impressed with the nations that do border the Ukraine, who are the easterly members of NATO. I had very, very good meetings with one of the Baltic nations' representatives here just last week. So we're very impressed with how those who have suffered under the jackboot of a communist regime in the Soviet Union, like our Baltic brethren, like Hungary, like Poland, understand the dire threat that is posed by proto-imperial forces on their easterly borders. So we here in the White House hope that those NATO nations will lead the way to show others amongst our allied forces how seriously they should take their own security as part of a shared alliance.
And finally, your message, or what message does it send out to any other leader, for example, President Xi of China, who might fancy invading another country, for example, Taiwan?
Oh, I think the president has been explicit. This administration is predicated on freedom, on prosperity, and above all else, national sovereignty. That's why we were so excited with the British people voting to leave the European Union and Brexit, to reassert their national sovereignty. So if you believe
what about Ukraine's national sovereignty?
If you believe in the national sovereignty of your nation, we will support you. And seriously, look at what support we have given the Ukrainians in the last 3 years.
It's huge.
I don't
it's
think
huge.
again, you're interrupting me, and it's really not done. At the end of the day, we stand with any nation that wishes to implement its sovereignty and which shares our values. And we know that those amongst our civilization that share our values understand, and we stand next to them shoulder to shoulder.
But not the women killed in the maternity hospital in southern Ukraine.
Is that a serious statement? I mean, do you really have
May
no
I finish
shame?
my sentence now,
No
please?
shame. You have no
Not
shame.
the
That is
women
beneath
killed-
the BBC.
the women
As someone
killed
who
in the
grew up
maternity
on
hospital.
The products of the BBC. That is absolutely
The families killed in their own apartments
shameful.
in the capital.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
The
making
people
such a statement.
eating in a
I am
pizza
not even
place.
going to countenance replying to such an absolutely abhorrent statement.
Thank you very much for your time, Sebastian Gorka,
You're
live
welcome.
from the White House.
How come all these Donald Trump cronies tend to resign whenever they face criticism or encounter a question they struggle to answer or dislike? Seriously, isn't that the whole purpose of an interview? You're expected to tackle challenging questions. This is the issue with the current White House administration. They're saying all these things, but the world is watching and is confused because their words aren't lining up. You can't claim to support the sovereignty of each nation only if they match your values while simultaneously serving a country to Putin on a silver platter. You might argue that he will only seize what he's already taken, but once you give someone like Putin the green light for such actions, what makes you think he won't repeat it? Haven't previous agreements been established between Russia and Ukraine that Putin has violated? Yes, they have. So if you keep setting up agreements that Putin is supposed to adhere to, yet he never does, it will just go on. He'll move on to another country, continually pushing the boundaries as far as possible. Honestly, this interview felt like a disaster to me. Sebastian Gaux's way of responding seemed rather smug, and as I mentioned earlier, there was a clear display of misogyny in how he attempted to interact with Victoria Darashia. I'm not really fond of the Trump administration's representatives. Actually, scratch that. I don't care for the whole Trump administration. A lot of their representatives are truly unpleasant. I'm pleased Victoria stood her ground and caused him to walk away, because that's exactly what happened. He backed down, choosing not to address a question because it was too difficult, and she concluded the interview. This is now the second instance I've witnessed a Trump spokesperson face tough questions, struggle to provide answers, and subsequently give up and leave. As always, guys, share your thoughts in the comment section below this video. What did you think about Sebastian Gaux and Victoria Darashia in this interview? Let me know in the comments. If you found this video enlightening, please hit the thumbs up button. And if you're new to the channel and interested in an outsider's perspective on American politics, give the video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to join the community. Also, turn on the bell notification so you'll be alerted whenever we upload a new video. I appreciate you all, and we'll see you in the next one.